In this video, we're going to learn how to simplify fractions. Let's look at a first example. How would you simplify 4 over 8? Well, you need to look for the GCF, and the GCF stands for the greatest common factor. Greatest common factor is a number that can divide the numerator and the denominator without leaving any remainders. So before we simplify this fraction, let's look for the greatest common factor. So we need to factor multiples of 4 and 8. So 4, we start with 1, 2, 4. Let's factor the numbers for 8. 1, 2, 4, and 8. So the greatest common factor will be 4 in this case. So let me write it over here, greatest common factor. So we need to use this common factor to divide the numerator and the denominator. Let's use 4. So 4 divided by 4 will give you 1, and 8 divided by 4 will give you 2. So this is the lowest form simplification of this fraction. Finding the common factor is our way, but also we can start by multiples of 2. 2 can divide 12 and 2 can divide 20. 12 into 2 is 6. 2 into 20 is 10. But we can still reduce this fraction. We can simplify it farther. We use 2 again. Let's use 2. 2 into 6 is 3. And 2 into 10 is 5. So now we reduce the fraction. We simplify it. This method might be long. The best method so far is to just find the greatest common factor. So for 12 we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. For 20 we have multiples 1, 2, 4, 10, 20. So far we can see that the greatest common factor is 4. It appears in both 12 and in both 20. So this is the greatest common factor. So we could have divided 12 over 20. We could have divided by 4, and 4 goes into 12, 3, and 24 goes into 25. This way is faster. Again, the reason that you might find this topic hard is that you need to go practice your multiplication. Knowing your multiplication will make these problems easier to solve. Now, what about this one? 30 over 108. Well, if you start divided by 2, that would be pretty long. And if you started by trying to find the GCF 30, 108, you will have to list all the common factors, and this will be pretty long to solve. So here's the fast and trick way to do this. Let's list 30. So we can factor 2 times 15. That will give me 30, and this 15 I can factor it. That would be 3 and 5. Now we stop here because 2, 3, and 5, these are prime numbers. Prime numbers can only be divided by 1 and itself. Now, knowing these prime numbers, we can write these prime numbers like this. Let's write it on the numerator because 30 is in the numerator. Now, let's list 108 and let's factor this number. 2 and 54 will give me 108. I can factor 54. 2 times 27, I can factor 27. 3 and 9, I can factor 9. 3 and 3. And we stop here because it doesn't make sense I do 1 and 3, then 1 and 3 doesn't make sense because a prime number can only be divided by 1 and itself. So these numbers here are prime numbers, and we're going to write them on the denominator. Let's write down 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. What we do next is that we cross out. Let's cross 1, 2 here, 2 over here. Let's cross 1, 3 here and 1, 3 here. Now we will have 5 in the numerator. That's the only number left. And then we will have 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 times 3 will be 18. All right, we simplified this fraction. 30 over 108 simplified to its lowest term is 5 over 18. Using this method here, called the tree method, can be easier when you deal with bigger numbers. Here's another example, 42r over 66. Let's factor out 42. Using the tree method is quicker and easier. We can factor 21, 3, and 7. Now let's factor r. Well, 1 times r gives you r box. So what we do is that we write 2 times 3 times 7, our prime numbers, and we also write r. Next, let's factor 66. So if we do 2 times 33, will give us back 66. And now we can factor 3, 3, and 11. And these numbers are our prime numbers. Prime numbers can only be divided by 1 and itself. So now let's write it down on the numerator, 2 times 3 times 11. And next we need to cross out. Let's cross a 2 and a 2, 3, 3. And now on the numerator we'll have 7 times r will be 7r, and on the denominator we'll have 11. So we have simplified 42r over 66. Try this one. 49b to the third power over 56b to the second power. So let's factor 49. So let's factor 7 times 7 will give me 49. So these are our prime numbers. So let's write it on the numerator, 7 times 7. Now let's factor b to the third power. This simply means b times b times b, and let's write it on the numerator. Next, let's factor 56. Let's start with 2 times 28. This will give me back 56. I can factor 28. 2 times 14 will give me 28. Let's factor 14. 2 times 7 will give me 14, and these are our prime numbers. So let's write it down on the numerator. So we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 7, and we have b to the second power. This can be factored as b times b. So let's write it on the numerator. Next, or we can cross 1 7, and then we can cross out 2 b's. Now on the numerator we will have 7 times b is 7b, and on the denominator we'll have 4 times 2, that will be 8. So we simplified 49b to the third power over 56b to the second power. Try this one, 6x to the fourth power over 60x to the second power. So the first thing I can do is factor out x times x times x, 4x, and on the denominator let's factor out 7x. Let's see, I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Next, let's factor 6. So we'll have 2 times 3. These are the prime numbers we need on the numerator. Now let's factor 60. We'll have 2 times 30. Now I can factor 30, 2 times 15, and I can factor 15, 3 times 5. These are our prime numbers. 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Now I can cross out 1, 2. I can cross out 3. Next, let's cross out 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so what do you think we have in the numerator? In the numerator, you have to be careful. Doesn't mean we have 0. Basically, we have 1. And on the numerator, we have 2 times 5, which is 10. And we have 1, 2, 3. So we have x to the third power. So this fraction here simplifies to 1. over 10 x to the third power. And this is how we simplify fractions. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next lesson.